Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Diplomas and Doubts. I'm Claire.
I'm Beatriz.
And today, for our inaugural episode, we're just going to be having a super fun, casual conversation with each other about what we've been up to post-grad.
Yes, we're very excited to start this podcast. I think, I'm really looking forward to talking to some friends and just kind of seeing what they're up to. Just kind of realizing that none of us know what's going on. And, we're all still trying to figure this out, but we're all in this together. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Me too. We have so many cool friends doing cool things that we can share their stories with.
Yes. And we have friends from high school, from college, who have all graduated from different kinds of universities, have had different experiences in college from different cities, different states. They've all studied different stuff. So I'm sure everyone is going to have different college experiences and different post-grad experiences now that we're 10 months out of graduation. And I'm excited to see what everyone's up to.
Yeah, we have a lot of super fun stories to share. But today, BB, we finally get to talk to each other about what we did after graduation. Obviously,
Yes.
BB and I are very close friends. You don't start a podcast with someone you're not a close friend with. But BB and I were not as close friends around the time of graduation and the beginning of this summer. And we haven't had this conversation before, BB, so I'm really excited to have it with you today.
Same here. I think our friendship blossomed. When would you say, like, August of 2017, more or less?
Yeah, this August, maybe September.
Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know, our mutual friend, Queen Maggie Morin,
oh my gosh,
is
shout
the
out
one that
Maggie
brought us
Morin.
together.
We would die for you.
She brought us together, so we're just going to give her a quick little shout out because she's the best. And she's great. Do you have any comments on Maggie Morin?
Maggie was my college roommate for 3 years and my best friend for life. And you and Maggie went to high school together.
That's true. I've known Maggie. I think I actually became friends with Maggie probably junior year of high school. I don't think I'm sure we had classes together freshman and sophomore year, but we didn't actually become close friends and hang out in the same friend group until junior year, which is cool. We had a great time junior and senior year, and then the rest is history.
And now our dear Maggie is in the great state of Massachusetts, serving in the Augustinian Volunteer Program, so hopefully we'll be able to have her on the podcast sooner than later.
Yes, very excited to hear about her story and what her plans are if she has any. Because honestly, who has any plans post-grad?
I don't have any plans, BB.
Me neither, and that's what we're here to discuss.
My only plan is to do this podcast with you.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so should we get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, so let's start with you. Let's start a little bit about your college experience. So just tell me where you graduated from, what you studied, and just a little brief synopsis, if you will, of your time in school.
Sure. So I attended the University of Portland. I studied marketing at their School of Business and obviously graduated in May, 10 months ago. And I had so many on-campus jobs, it felt like. I was a staff photographer for the yearbook staff freshman year, and then I was photography editor for 2 years. And then the summer before senior year, I had an internship at the Portland Children's Museum.
Nice.
Was digital marketing and social media. It was really fun. The Children's Museum is obviously a very cute place. And then also that summer, I started working in the graduate school. I processed admissions. And then I also worked in the HR department processing student employment paperwork. So I got paid to make sure everyone else got paid, which was really great. And I also became editor-in-chief of the log yearbook staff for my senior year.
Wow.
Which dictated a lot of my life senior year and my plans after graduation because I had to finish the book.
Right. Nice. So did you always, like, ever since freshman year, did you always want to study marketing or be in business?
Yeah, I was immediately in the business program. I didn't decide until sophomore year that I was going to study marketing. And then second semester of junior year, I didn't take any marketing classes. I don't know why. I needed a break. I took a bunch of operations classes, and the operations professors kept asking me if everything was okay. And I was like, I think everything's okay. And then senior year, I just jumped back into marketing, and obviously
Oh,
it was
so you
fine. I was on
switched.
time to graduate.
Did you switch majors?
No, I didn't switch. I took a break and took other classes and
Oh, I
finished some other
see.
stuff. And
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
just I cleansed my palette of marketing classes for a semester.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So after, taking marketing classes and after graduate, or I guess before graduation, what was kind of your idea of, or what was your plan, if you had any plan after graduation? What were you thinking about doing?
Yeah, as graduation was approaching, I knew I wanted to stay in Portland. I was not ready to go home. So I sort of, when I started applying for jobs, I said I would go home for a dream job, quote unquote. So if I
Okay.
got a really cool gig at home, I would go home. But if I didn't, I would stay in Portland and just figure anything out. So obviously, I stayed in Portland and just figured anything out. I also really wanted to stay in Portland because I knew I had at least a month left before I could finish the book and get the book completely through the publisher. And then because of a lot of technical issues, I didn't end up finishing the book till the end of July. But basically, as graduation was approaching, I was applying for jobs at home and in Portland, and it wasn't great. Not a lot of action over here on my end with the job market. So, as graduation approached, literally the week before graduation, I got an interview at a semi truck dealership really close to where I was going to be living. And it was a gig, it was an office clerk gig through a temp agency. So at the interview, uh, the guy who would become my supervisor, really nice guy, he just kept telling me I was going to be so bored and I was so overqualified. And I don't know, I'd never been in a semi truck dealership, I'll tell you that right now. And I went home and I had no idea how to feel about it. And then I bought my very first auto insurance policy.
Hmm.
And it was so expensive because I had not had my driver's license for long. And
Oh.
right after I gave Liberty Mutual a nice chunk of my savings, the temp agency called and said, "Do you want to accept this job?" And I said, "Absolutely, I do. I've never wanted anything more than I've wanted this job." So I took the job at the dealership, and after graduation, I went on a week-long trip with my family just around Oregon, and then I came back to town, and the next day I started at the dealership. That was in the middle of May.
Okay.
And there was a lot of good things about the dealership. There were a lot of ways it was sort of a good fit for me for the summer. And then there was a lot of ways I started losing my mind.
Okay.
So it was really close to home, and I worked 8 to 4:30, so I was home by 4:45 every day, and that gave me a lot of time in the evenings to finish the yearbook. And then
Oh,
Saturdays
wow.
I would work on the book. So for a while I was too busy to sort of think about anything else. Um, so like I said, I finished the book the end of July. And at the end of July, I took a weekend long trip uh, with all the women in my family. And that was sort of the hoorah. Like, I had finished the book. I couldn't believe it. I had dreamed of being editor for 7 years, and it took me a year to finish the book, and it was finally done. And so for a moment, I felt content.
Okay.
For a moment,
A
Beatrice.
moment.
And then, not so much.
Oh,
Then I got
no.
really bored. I had too much time on my hands. It was too hot. The sun doesn't set here in Portland, Oregon until after 9 p.m. over the summers.
No
So the
way.
days were, no, it's beautiful, but it's also a little excessive.
9 p.m.?
9 p.m., So that means that the heat doesn't break until like 10, 10:30, 11.
Wow.
So when it's 100 degrees here, it stays 100 degrees here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. When the weather's nice, it's wonderful.
Right.
When the weather's too hot, it's terrible.
Wow.
So suddenly I did not have a second job to work on, and I was ready to get out of the dealership. And I feel conflicted saying that in hindsight because the dealership was so kind to me and they told me I could stay as long as I wanted. But by the time August rolled around, I knew it was time for me to go.
Okay.
I liked the dealership, but I was tired of truckers and mechanics looking at me like I was in a fishbowl. I was ready to be doing something I wanted to be doing.
So you were already there like 3 months?
Yeah, I'd already been there since the middle of May.
Okay.
And I had told them I would stay through the summer, and I felt like the summer was ending, so I knew it was time for me to go.
Okay.
So I started getting restless. I was applying for jobs constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And by the beginning of September, I had sort of decided that I didn't want this. You know, when you're young, you think time is so long. So I felt like I didn't want this 4-month chunk of time to go to waste, which is dumb because it's just 4 months. But at the time, I was using the internship to apply to other sort of big industry places.
Right.
Like other freight and transportation companies nearby. And I was just trying to find something that was at least a little bit better than my gig at the dealership. So I ended up landing a interview at Daimler Trucks North America, which is obviously the only semi-truck producer, manufacturer located in Portland, Oregon.
Oh,
so I knew if I was going to stay in trucking, I was going to go to Daimler. I was not going to be at a dealership. So I got the interview for the sales support internship, and the pay was better than I expected, a lot more than I was making at the dealership.
Nice.
And somehow I got the position, which I was really, really grateful for. I had sort of set my sights on Daimler as my dream job, and so the fact that I landed an interview and then the position for the first position I applied for was really wonderful. So I felt like I was figuring things out.
Okay.
So I finished at the dealership the end of September. I went home for a week to lovely Upland, California.
Wonderful.
Got very sick, just a terrible cold.
Did you really?
Came back to Portland, Oregon. What?
Did you really?
Yeah, I went home to relax for a week, and instead I got very, very sick.
Oh my God.
I came back to Portland to start the internship on October 1st.
Okay.
So my 6-month internship at Daimler Trucks North America is coming to an end at the end of this month, March 30th. So I've been applying for jobs for 5 weeks now. I think I have 17 job applications out in the world.
Wow.
I've had 3 interviews in the past week, and I felt better about them before they happened. After they happened, I sort of walked out thinking, I don't even know if I want the job. Okay. A lot of the times I would leave the interview and think, please actually don't give me that. That's going to be a pass.
Wow.
So I go through phases. I'm sure 3 days ago I would have told you I was really optimistic. Last night I did not feel so optimistic. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel right now. But yes, there is a very real chance I will go through a moment of unemployment circa April 1st.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah. That's a heavy hitter. I am on the brink of unemployment, friends. I am not afraid to share it.
So kind of going back a little bit to your temp job and
yes,
I guess
absolutely.
The job you have now, your internship right now. What made you decide to want to stay in like the trucking world?
I felt like summer had felt so long. The summer I spent at the dealership felt like a lifetime.
Yeah.
I swear I worked there for a decade.
Yeah.
And so I was very stubbornly thinking, well, I'm not going to let this time go to waste.
Right.
I'm going to use this experience in this industry to further myself in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And part of marketing is that a lot of marketing positions want you to have experience in the industry the company's in.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any experience in any industry but trucking. And I still don't have any experience in any industry but trucking. So that's why I felt like I wanted to stay in the trucking industry, because it was the only place I had experience. But also, I really like trucking. I didn't know anything about it. When I got the job at the dealership, I was still calling them 18-wheelers.
Okay.
Which is not a thing people say in Portland, Oregon.
Really?
They're definitely semis up here.
Interesting.
So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about freight and transportation, and I'd never given it much of a thought. Who's moving our freight? Who's keeping this country running? But I've been able to do that in these positions.
That's cool. Did you enjoy your internship at the museum? Did you ever think about like staying in the museum industry? If that's the correct term.
I loved museums. Working at the Children's Museum was a dream because I am an artist, so I've always wanted to work in any kind of museum. I enjoyed the work I did at the Portland Children's Museum, and the museum is wonderful and the mission's beautiful, but it was unpaid.
Oh.
I was eating a lot of potatoes and popcorn.
Nice.
My parents were covering my rent. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And I was broke.
Right.
So sort of by the end of the summer, watching my savings account dwindle little by little, I was ready to get out of the Children's Museum. All my love to the Children's Museum, but I advise everybody against unpaid internships.
Yeah,
but unfortunately,
they're not fun.
when you're in a creative field, there's not as many options for a paid internship as if you're in the STEM field.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it does make sense, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure. So you did mention that you are kind of applying to jobs right now, and you've already had a couple of interviews this past week, and you're staying in Portland.
Yes.
Are you thinking about applying to more? Like what? I'm sure your plan is very open right now.
Yes, my plan is very open right now. I'll send out another wave of applications this weekend. I'm sort of thinking, I'm trying to be easy on myself, and I'm telling myself that if I have a couple of weeks of unemployment in April, it's not the end of the world. Right. I will find something that is a good fit eventually. But I'm sort of thinking, I'm trying to talk myself out of going back to a temp agency.
Okay.
And just finding the first thing that will pay me a few bucks over minimum wage. I'm trying to be more patient and find something that is a step forward from the internship. But I just don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard because it's so hard to plan things out like this. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. The only thing you can do is just apply and just see what happens, you know? There's really no planning for it, which is not ideal, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe I found myself in a situation where I'm 10 months post-grad and I only have sales support experience in the trucking industry. What a niche. What
and
a niche.
A little bit of museum experience.
I can't believe it.
Ish, kind of.
No, it's good experience. Yeah. It's good experience. I'm just making jokes about it because I don't know what's next.
Right. Okay, well, I guess turning it around, what are you most excited about going forward in your career and life in general?
I think I'm most excited to just still be in Portland. I'm on a lease until next May 2019. Wow. So really, I'm just excited to be here. I know that this is the city I want to be in and the place I want to be. I'm just not sure what I should be doing here.
Okay.
So at least I have one thing figured out.
And yeah, I mean, everything will fall into place eventually. Like right now, it just seems like it won't at all, but you'll get there.
I'm definitely on the brink of a transition in my life. So listeners, stay tuned. Hopefully in a few more episodes, we have a super fun update for you, and I have a super cool job.
Yes.
If that's not the case, that's okay too, but that's what we're hoping for.
I'm excited. I'm excited. And lastly, I guess to end this little convo that we have going on,
Sure.
if you could go back to graduation day, do you remember when your graduation was? Like the exact date?
Yeah, May 5th.
If you could go back
Yeah.
to May 5th, 2017, what advice or what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself, first, I would tell myself not to give in to my restlessness.
Okay.
There was definitely a period over the summer I gave in.
Mm-hmm.
And all I was eating was cucumbers with lemon juice and Java chip ice cream. Because it was hot and that was all I could figure out at the time.
So
I would
you
advise myself
transitioned,
not to do that.
transitioned from, what was it, potatoes and what was the other thing you were eating?
Potatoes and coffee to cucumbers and Java chip
Yeah.
ice cream. Yeah. That's what I transitioned to.
I wonder what your next meal situation is going to be.
I'm not going to admit that here because I'm sure my mom will be listening. So I would advise myself not to give in to the restlessness, to be patient. And then I think I got so frustrated at the dealership at times. I would just tell myself that nostalgia turns everything into a highlight reel. And looking back, I'll think of the museum as, it'll take on like a dreamlike quality and I'll forget the things I hate. I already have. I can't believe I worked at a truck dealership, but in my mind, I hold it dear now, when at the time I just despised it.
I feel like that happens a lot with a lot of our experiences and memories. Like in the moment, it feels like it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you ever. But once time goes on and you look back, they're good memories and you'll try to keep them forever. And I don't know.
Yeah, I have so much affection for the dealership now, and the fact that they gave me a place to finish my book and rest. That's and cool. Figure out what I wanted to do. But, at the time I couldn't believe I was there. So I don't know. I would remind myself to be more patient and just appreciative.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure you're going to find a great job, even if it's not your dream job. We're just getting started with our careers. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself too. Started. That like, even if this is not your dream job, like who starts with their dream job? Nobody starts with their dream job. You have to get there eventually. So you're going to find something. You're not going to be unemployed for that long at least. And
no, just a minute.
Maybe a minute. Maybe a second.
Or an hour.
Maybe an hour. But you'll find something. I believe in you. You're great.
Definitely. Okay, I'm so excited to turn this around on you, Beatriz.
Okay.
Let's chat about this.
All right.
Walk me through it.
Okay. So I guess I'll just start off with college. So I knew for a long, long time that I wanted to go out of state for school. I love San Diego with all my heart. But I just wanted something different, So I applied to some East Coast schools and some Midwest schools. And I eventually decided to go to Loyola University Chicago, which is where I graduated in May. There I studied, my major was film and digital media, but my concentration was just digital media. I also had a minor in marketing, and I had another minor for a hot second in, what was it? Oh, visual communications, which is basically like graphic design. But I dropped that just because I felt like the workload was going to be a lot. And also I felt like I was not going to graduate in time because it was just like a lot of requirements for each minor and each major, or my single major.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So yeah, I graduated with digital media major, marketing minor. And throughout school, I had a few internships and jobs. My first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, I had a job on campus. All of my I think, yeah, all of my jobs at school were work-study jobs. So first 2 years I worked in an office on campus. It was the community relations office. So they basically planned events to, bring the students as well as like the people that lived in the neighborhood together to like bond and have, events together and activities, whatever. And I was like an office assistant, so I would make copies, I would run errands for people, and I would also like make posters and flyers for events, and I would answer calls, all that kind of stuff. And that was fine. The pay was really, really low, which is fine, but it was just, I don't know. I would not look
Minimum
forward
wage,
to
right?
go.
Or no?
What's up?
Minimum wage?
Yeah.
What's minimum wage there? Do you know?
Well,
Or what was it at the time?
when I first started, it was like, I want to say $7.50 or $8.50 or something. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I worked like 12 hours a week. Yeah.
That's not a lot of money at the end of the week.
And then I think after my freshman year, Illinois raised the minimum wage. I don't remember to what, but they raised it, so it was a little bit better. And every summer, I would go back home. My first year at school was not the easiest. It was like really hard for me to make friends, and I did not know, I don't know, it was just really hard being like so far away from home, and I just did not know what I was doing. And I was so tempted to transfer to a school in California. Like I was really, really close to transferring. But I'm really glad I didn't. I really love Loyola now. I think my issue was that I was not involved and I didn't really participate in different things, and I wasn't really open to like going to parties. I just kind of wanted to do my own thing, but that was not the best idea for me. But anyway, yeah, every summer I would go back home. And I didn't get my first internship until, summer of sophomore year going into junior year. I got 2 internships in San Diego. One was at the San Diego Diplomacy Council. I was the marketing and communications intern there, and basically they organize delegates, like people, like representatives from different countries to go on these trips to different cities in the United States or around the world and see kind of what the United States, for example, what they're doing with, when they would come to San Diego, they would go on border patrol meetings and border security meetings, and they would go to the border and talk to people that work there and see what rules that the United States has that they can implement into their countries. You know what I mean? So that was a communications and marketing internship. It was unpaid. It was fine. I didn't really do much. And then I had another internship at, in San Diego, there's this huge park called Balboa Park where there's a bunch of museums and the zoo's there, and it's really beautiful. I had an internship at the, what was it called? Oh, the online, no. Oh, wow. It was the Balboa Park Online Collaborative, I think it was called. Yeah. And basically there was an IT part where the IT department, they would go to all the museums and set up like all the interactive projects that they had, like the kiosks, stuff like that. And then there was the creative side where they would make the websites for the different museums. They would make videos, promotions, stuff like that. So I was a communications intern there. And again, I did not do anything. But I was really excited to go to Balboa Park every other day for my internship because...
Was that unpaid too?
Yes, they were both unpaid. Yeah. And that summer I worked at a ceramic store. Ceramics, it's called Ceramic Cafe. Honestly, I had a great time. But yeah, I would alternate. I think it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would go to one. Tuesday, Thursday, I would go to another. And then in the afternoons and weekends, I would go to Ceramic Cafe. So it was a busy summer for sure. But it was a good time. Like, yeah. It was great. I didn't really do anything fun, I guess, but I mean, I got the experience and that I needed to put on my resume, so I cannot complain. So yeah, that was the summer before my junior year. And then starting junior year, I got another job on campus at the Digital Media Lab. Shout out to the Digital Media Lab, big fan. Basically, at the Digital Media Lab, students, faculty, and staff, they could all check out cameras, laptops, production equipment, phone chargers, stuff like that for short-term or long-term. And it was honestly, it was a great job for many reasons. One, because it was so easy. Two, because the hours were super, super flexible. Like I could work in between my classes and I could work on the weekends. And the issue that I had at the office job was that I had to be there for a really big chunk of time. And that was super difficult because if I had a class downtown, like how would I make it back to the office? That was on the main campus, you know? So luckily Digital Media Lab had 2 locations and it was really good scheduling wise. 3, because I was majoring in digital media, I was able to learn more about different audio equipment, video equipment, just production in general, because when people would ask questions about the different equipment, I would be able to answer them, which was great. So I worked there my junior and senior year. And then also my junior year, I started participating in the student-produced sport broadcast club, I guess you could call it, on campus called Rambler Sports Locker. That was amazing because not only did I find my group of friends in Rambler Sports Locker, but I also found a love for working in a studio and in news behind the scenes and editing news packages and just being in sports media I really liked. So that was really fun, and that's when my college experience was really positive because that's when I kind of figured out like, okay, I could totally see myself doing this for the rest of my life type thing. And then my internship between my junior year and senior year, so that summer, I went back to San Diego and I got an internship at the NBC station. And I was the digital content intern, so I would write articles, news articles for the website every day, and I would post to social media. And that was really fun because that summer in San Diego, it was the MLB All-Star Game was in San Diego. Comic-Con, one of the biggest Comic-Cons in the world, is in San Diego, so I got to cover that. I got to go, take pictures of the costumes and write an article on one of NBC's shows and sit front row, which was really cool. Just there's so many events in San Diego in the summer that was just really cool to cover and be behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. So I really, really loved that. I really loved going every day to that internship. And that was another experience that I had in college that made me think, okay, I definitely can't see myself staying in news behind the scenes, either writing or producing or editing, just anything like that. I really liked it. So
I remember reading your articles from that internship.
You read them?
Yeah, Maggie used to send me the link.
Oh my God, I love that. That is so cute. So yeah, that was my internship, and that was paid, which was really cool.
Love it.
And then senior year was rough because I had no idea what I was doing. I was freaking out about finding a job. And to me, it seemed like there were so many people by like November. They were like, oh yeah, I already have a job lined up. And I was like, how? How is that possible? Like, do you realize how lucky you are? Because I'm clueless. I'm completely clueless. I don't know if I want to stay in Chicago. I don't know if I want to go somewhere new. I don't know if I want to go back to San Diego. They were just chilling. They were, flying through senior year with plans set. And I was so jealous, So that was senior year was rough because of that. I just had no idea what was happening. I didn't know when to apply to jobs. And just I think the pressure of knowing that everyone else, or not everyone else, but a lot of other people, a lot of other peers of mine, knowing that they were ready to go and start their careers just made me even freak out even more because I had no idea. I had no plans. So I think starting in February, March, I started to apply to jobs in Chicago because I think I wanted to stay in Chicago. And honestly, I would love to go back, but I wanted to stay in Chicago. So I was applying to entry-level jobs at the different television stations. I was applying to random production companies. And towards the end of senior year, I was applying to any job. Like I applied to Whole Foods. I applied to just different, customer service jobs because my lease was going to be until the end of July. And because of my work study, like obviously I can't work there after I graduate, so I was going to be unemployed after graduation. So I actually got a job at Whole Foods towards the end. This was after graduation, so I think I got a job at Whole Foods mid-May. No, I would say early June, mid-May, or mid-June. And before I even started at Whole Foods, I got the job that I have now. So I didn't even start at Whole Foods, and I packed up all my stuff. And now I'm living in Las Vegas, working at a local.
So you still had a month left on your lease when you left Chicago.
I had a month left on my lease, yeah. And I left right before 4th of July. So I just paid for July,
yeah.
It wasn't a big deal. So
how was the actual moving from Chicago to Las Vegas? How did you do that?
So, I mean, there was already people ready to move into our apartment because our apartment was close to campus. So there was going to be students moving into our apartment. So I got in contact with one of the people that were going to live there, and I told her, hey, I have a bed, I have a desk, and I have a dresser. Let me know if you want to buy it. She bought all of it. I was like, great. So I sold that. I tried to sell some other big things that I had that I couldn't send over to San Diego. But like all my clothes, I tried to send all my winter clothes through the mail. And I had those, those like air bags, those space bags.
Yeah, space bags.
Yes, I had space bags, and I sent a lot of those back to San Diego. And I used those, what were those called? Just like those flat rate boxes that no matter how heavy they are, they're still just going to be the same price.
So you moved everything from Chicago to San Diego?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I sent all of my things to San Diego, and then because I didn't have a place to live here in Las Vegas yet, so I just sent everything home to my parents, and then I flew to Las Vegas. And funny story, actually, my flight leaving to Las Vegas was at 5 o'clock in the morning. It left at 5 a.m. So I had to wake up at 2 to get my things ready to go to the airport. And because I was unemployed for so long, I had no money. Okay? I didn't have any money. And my big suitcase was over the weight limit. And when I gave the guy my suitcase, he's like, this is overweight. Do you want to transfer anything to your other suitcase? I'm like, both of these suitcases are packed to the brim. I can't move anything. It's just not possible. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to charge you. I'm like, that's fine. And I didn't have enough money to pay for it. So I was all alone. It was 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning in Chicago. I was asking people for money. I was like, hey, do you have any extra money to give me? Because I need to get on this plane and I need my bag to go with me. And they're like, no, I don't have any cash, blah, blah, blah. So I was calling my mom, and I'm like, I know she's asleep, but she has to answer. I was calling my mom, my dad, and my brother, hoping that someone was going to wake up and answer. And finally, my mom answers, and I'm like, Mom, I don't have any money for my bag or whatever. And she transferred money, thank God, but like, that's such a
Oh my
situation.
God, my heart is breaking right now.
Can you imagine
Wow.
me just like standing in front of the Southwest kiosk in Chicago just with no money? No money.
At 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank God my mom transferred the money. And I got on the plane. I met my parents here in Las Vegas because we were going to go apartment hunting. And we found an apartment. Then I flew back to San Diego with them, and I kind of had a last like mini break before I started here. And then my parents, they came with me to move in. My first day at work was July 10th, so a little bit before that.
Wow, so you did all that in less than a week.
Yeah, more or less. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And yeah, I've been here ever since.
How did it feel to leave Chicago?
Honestly, I was so sad, and I'm still so sad about it because, like I said earlier, at first, I did not like being that far away from home. But once I got my group of friends and I felt more comfortable at school and I explored more of the city, I just fell in love with the people in the city and just like the environment, So I was super, super sad to leave Chicago. But I was really open to, living in a new city and seeing how that experience is going to go because I don't know. I really love Chicago and I eventually want to go back. But yeah, I was really sad about it, honestly.
Yeah, that's been one of my biggest fears is leaving Portland before it's time for me to leave Portland.
Right.
But I don't know how you know when it's time. I don't think it's time. Mom and Dad, I know you're listening. I don't think it's time, just to be clear.
Do you see yourself living in Portland for like long term?
I'd like to be here at least a few more years.
Okay.
It sort of depends on what I decide for grad school.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But back to you, Beatriz.
Okay.
Give us the real scoop. What is it really like living in Las Vegas?
Girl.
Because, I'm from the LA area, so I assume it's just a hotter, drier LA with more cigarette smoke.
Whoa, that's accurate.
Can you confirm or deny? Is that true?
That's really accurate. Las Vegas is interesting. So I had only been to Las Vegas on vacation with my family. But I was super young. It's not like I could go out.
Right.
So I would just I would go to shows with my parents and my family, and they would kind of do their own thing, and we would go to the pool, blah, blah, blah. But now, so that was my idea of Las Vegas. But now that I live here, the idea of going to the Strip and to the casinos and to the shows, oh my God, no, thank you. It just sounds absolutely terrible. I try to stay away from that area as much as I possibly can. It's just not a fun time. And the rest of Las Vegas, it's just residential, really. It's just apartments and houses and strip malls and Targets,
Can you talk more about the position you're in right now? You didn't really go into detail about it yet.
Sure. So basically right now, I'm at a local news station. And also when I was applying to jobs like crazy. I was mainly applying to local news stations in different cities, just kind of like behind the scenes stuff. And here, what I'm doing now is I'm working in the creative services department. And in the creative services department, there are two job positions. One of them is a promotions producer, which is basically they make the clips that you see online, or not online, on air, that'll say like, tonight at 5, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. Stay tuned at 5 p.m. on our channel. You know what I mean? And then on the other side, there are commercial producers, which is what I am. And basically what we do is we work with the account executives, which they're in the sales department of the station, and they sell airtime to local businesses, car dealerships, hotels, stuff like that, restaurants here in Las Vegas. And I, along with 2 other commercial producers, we make their commercials for them. And sometimes we'll make commercials for the station if there's an event that they're trying to promote that, you know, the station will be at, then we'll make commercials for that. But yeah, I just make commercials for different clients. And it's been okay. It's been fine. Honestly, just like working, I guess the best way I could describe this is I don't feel like I'm employed by the station. I feel like I'm employed by all these clients who want me to make commercials for them, if that makes sense.
Right, and you want to be employed by the station.
Yeah.
Or you want to feel like you're employed by the station.
Right. And I think if I was in promotions and actually working with news, I think that would be better for me because, like I said earlier, you know, at my internship at NBC in San Diego, working in news, that's what I loved. And then at Rambler Sports Soccer, I loved actually being involved with the subject that we were like actually trying to talk about, like the sports. I was actually involved in that. But here, I'm not in news at all. Like I don't know anyone in news. I just work with the clients and the account executives. So it's not ideal, but I guess it's like a good place to start. You know, I got my foot in the door. And what really makes me feel good is that a lot of the people that I work with in my department, this is like their second or third job. And if you want to get into local news, usually this is for people that are on camera, so reporters and anchors. Usually they start at a really, really small city. But I really take pride in that I started in Las Vegas because it's a bigger city. I think it's number 40 on the media market list. And I have friends that they're reporters, but they're at like 100 and something. So,
sure.
So that's really cool. And honestly, I'm really proud of that. Just, it's not like the ideal job position. And, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
How long do you see yourself in Las Vegas?
Ideally, only a year.
Another year or a year completely?
Yeah, so in the summer would like be the whole year. But I think realistically, it'll probably be longer. I'm definitely going to try to, you know, update my resume in the next few months, add this position, kind of polish up my cover letter, stuff like that. And, you know, if there are job openings, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to have my hopes up, but, you know, I'm just trying to feel it out. And honestly, what I've been thinking about recently is going back to San Diego and living with my parents for a little bit because, I don't know, starting a new job right out of college and having to pay for rent on your own, like it's expensive. So it feels like I'm not saving a ton of money, which, I don't know, it kind of scares me, honestly. Like, I just don't, I don't know. I think this coming summer, I'm going to try to look for jobs in San Diego and just see what happens.
I have no problems talking about my financial anxiety. I lie awake at night wondering how I'm going to pay rent. Not this month, but like in the future years, I'm always wondering. I don't know why. I do have financial anxiety.
It's scary. So, yeah, that's kind of...
So I'll ask you the question you asked me.
Okay.
What advice would you give yourself on graduation day?
Man. If I could go back to May 11th, 2017, I would probably just tell myself, like, because I was really nervous about the job application process and just finding a job. I would probably just tell myself to really not worry about it. I know it's such a cliche thing to say and so, basic, but it's true. I mean, I was so worried, and I would get so sad about not having a job, and everyone is just, they had their summer jobs or they're already their full-time jobs, and I was just kind of sitting at home applying to jobs. So I would just honestly just tell myself not to worry and that everything was going to fall into place, and even if it's not my dream job, it's something starting me off. So yeah, I would tell myself that.
Everything works out.
It does.
I think we're going to be saying that a lot on this podcast.
Oh, 100%.
Everything eventually works out.
It will. Like, it might be rough right now, but it'll all work out. I know it will. It's just, in the moment, it's hard to believe myself sometimes.
I definitely understand.
Yeah. So that's what's up with me in my post-grad life.
So we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but what are we most excited for with this podcast?
Ooh. I'm excited to see what my friends and your friends are experiencing. Because honestly, even though we have talked to some friends already about being on the podcast and they've talked about like that they're kind of going through the same thing too, I'm excited to hear what they have to say and what their stories are and just kind of validate again to myself that I'm not the only one that's not having the best time.
Definitely. I'm excited to connect to our friends who are in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
I don't see so many of my friends so often, so I'm excited to have detailed conversations rather than Snapchats and texts to sort of get the details about what's going on, what everyone has planned.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and I'm excited to talk to your friends, just like to some new people that I don't really know, and just kind of bond about how we don't know what we're doing, but it'll work out.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And I'm excited to be working with you, Beatriz.
I'm excited to be working with you. I'm already having so much fun. This episode was great, I think.
Yeah, I think we're a great team. I hope all of our listeners agree. Let's take a minute to talk about who we're excited to have on.
Okay. I'm excited to have on, well, one of my good friends from school, Emily Morgenstern. She is a Loyola transfer, so she has a little bit of a different story. She started at Loyola junior year, and she is currently at an unpaid internship. She moved back home, but I'm excited to see how she's doing. I know she's in the same boat, so she has no idea what's happening with her life. But I'm excited to talk to her about everything.
I'm excited to meet her.
Yes, she's the best. I love Emily. I'm also excited to talk to my friend Gabriella. She is my best friend from high school. She went to the University of San Francisco and graduated in May. And right now, actually yesterday, she went on an internship to Costa Rica for like a farming internship because, I think she studied media studies. That was her major. But she has no idea what she wants to do. She left San Francisco late November, early December, I think. And ever since graduation in San Francisco, she was just working, waitressing jobs and just like random jobs here and there. And she moved back to San Diego, and now she's in Costa Rica. But I'm excited to talk to her about her experience with that once she's back. And I don't know, just talk about her future plans and see I want to know what her career / future goals were before going to Costa Rica and seeing what they were after, or what they're going to be after she comes back.
I'm excited to talk to my friend Bailey.
Okay.
She is a D1 track athlete, and now she is a CrossFit queen.
Nice.
She says she's in the best shape of her life. I want to hear all about that.
Okay.
She's also a firefighter, which is incredible. I'm excited to talk to my friend Ashley, who's doing some freelance advertising work and is also engaged, planning a wedding.
Oh, how sweet.
That'll be interesting to hear about. And I'm really hoping to convince my big brother to come on.
Oh my God.
Since he is a first lieutenant in the United States Army.
Amazing.
Just got back from his deployment in Korea. We want to hear all about that. I'm sure my mom will be able to convince him if I can't convince him. So we have some great things planned. I'm so excited for it.
Me too. This is going to be a great podcast. I'm excited that this is our first episode. I think this is going to be so much fun. I'm excited to have another creative outlet other than, having to go to work every day. I'm excited to have this project to work on.
Me too. I love a creative project.
Same here.
Okay, well, listeners, thank you for listening to our first episode of Diplomas and Doubts. We'll be back next week with our first guest, whoever that may be. We're as excited as you are to find that out. This week's episode is brought to you by starting a podcast and assuming at least your mom will listen.
Yes.
Thanks, Mom. I love you.
Yes. Amazing. Love our first sponsor. That's so great. All right.
We love a sponsor. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.